Busy week for the Miami Dolphins in transactions. We're recapping some of the latest ones, plus a brief moment to talk about DeShon Elliott's comments about his experience playing in Miami.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting, author of Touchdown Miami, and the NFL Draft lead for the 33rd team. I want to give a special shout out to our everydayers because it is your team every day, even here on a double dip Thursday here on Locked On Dolphins. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL in all lowercase to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Thought we were locked in for the week. Thought we were going to do our Wednesday show. Thought we were going to do crossover Thursday. Thought we were going to do final predictions for the game on Friday. Nope, we just had too much happen in the last 24 hours that I wanted to make sure that we took a little time here on the show. I hate falling behind on transactional stuff. The Dolphins added another player to the 53-man roster at the tight end position. What does that mean for the guys that are here? What is the strengths and weaknesses of Jack Stoll as a football player to make room for Jack Stoll? After picking up Tyrel Dodson, what do the Dolphins do? They waived David Long, team captain, David Long. So too much. DeShon Elliott coming out here, giving his version of reality for the Dolphins and the 2023 season. So we're going to touch on some stuff here on the show. We're going to start with David Long. I wish David the absolute best. Really have a great deal of respect for the way that he came in here last year after an unceremonious ending to his time in Tennessee. Seemed like he couldn't get on the same page with Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel constantly frustrated with him as far as player availability. He had some hamstring stuff. David stayed healthy for the first time completely in his career in 2023 with Miami. Felt like he was going to be a staple piece for you. Unfortunately, with the scheme change, I would definitely say his play regressed. I don't know how much of that was him trying to play through being injured. I don't know how much of that was the dynamics of pressing for a new contract in a contract year. I don't know how much of that was the change of the strengths of the player that was next to him in Jordan Brooks and how that pulled out some worse parts of David and how he played. And lots of people have a lot of speculation about what was the catalyst for this if you're the Dolphins to move on from David Long. I would think and I would assume a player like David, who's coming into a contract year, would hate to spend the back half of his contract year if it's resided and decide that he's not going to play, would like to find an opportunity to go play somewhere. And the trade deadline's unfortunately passed. I'm not sure you would have had a lot of takers for David Long regardless. But with Anthony Walker stepping in and playing admirably well and then having the opportunity to pick up Tyrel Dodson, who is a core special teams type of player who was playing defense this year. And some of his comments in the locker room today, Tyrel Dodson's, has got me a little fired up about having Tyrel Dodson. But what was apparent watching David Long this year was the play was not in line with what the Dolphins needed it to be at that position. So I'm wishing David Long well. I hope he finds an opportunity and lands on his feet and gets back to the player that he's capable of being sooner rather than later so that he can get his next contract in the NFL. I don't believe anything has come out. He was subjected to waivers. So there is an opportunity for somebody to pick up the contract that he had left over from a pay perspective. That would leave him with probably about $2 million in cash over the rest of the season. So we'll see if somebody claims him off waivers. I'm recording this around 2:45 p.m. on Thursday. But for Miami, if he did not want to be here, if he wanted an opportunity to play, they found an opportunity to have somebody that was a viable player. Tyrel Dodson said in the locker room today, like he's still trying to figure out what happened. He thought he was playing well in Seattle, pretty fired up that they moved on. And like Seattle has had like this weird Mike McDonald experience of they had Jordan Brooks and they move on from Jordan Brooks, and they bring in Jerome Baker. And then they move on from Jerome Baker, and they bring in Ernest Jones. And then they move on from Tyrel Dodson, who they sign. And it's been a shuffling of the deck chairs, if you will, for Seattle. Very dissatisfied with their linebacker play. And obviously with Mike McDonald, those guys in Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen were the engine of that defense last year for the Ravens. That was such a good defense. And you've seen all of the assistants that have gone elsewhere in the league. I think it works well in Miami's favor that Mike McDonald was there in Seattle and Tyrel Dodson coming into play in this system. A lot of the same language, some of the same lingo, some of the same terminology and ideology that you're applying to how you play football. So kind of have an idea off the Seattle tape, what you can expect to get. He's a guy, we kind of went over it yesterday, but an unsexy version of what you thought you had in David Long, right? Where he's not going to be super dynamic in pass coverage, although David was better in pass coverage, I think, than he was a run defense at Tennessee. And then last year, he was very good in the run fits and was kind of more limited in pass coverage. That's what I'm expecting from Tyrel Dodson. You know, he's not a superb athlete. He kind of moves comparably to Anthony Walker. So you have an insurance policy there in that spot for a guy in Walker who has had his fair share of injuries throughout the course of his career. And of course, is an older player, is a veteran linebacker. So kind of a nice roundabout way to get a shuffling of the deck and try to, and Walker, I think, has played well the last two games to make a transition at that spot, have insurance in that spot, and kind of know what you're getting. Not easy to do this time of year, and the Dolphins did that. And with the move of cutting David Long, they added tight end Jack Stoll. So I ground some tape on Jack Stoll and watched Jack Stoll from Philadelphia. I have some thoughts on where he might fit as far as a piece of the puzzle. We're going to get into that next here on this episode of Locked on Dolphins, so make sure that you stick with us. Time is your most precious commodity, so don't waste it doom scrolling on the internet for mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, and the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you could go deeper with readings and quizzes and discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Right now, go to hillsdale.edu to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/locked-on to register. hillsdale.edu/locked-on. NFL fans can make the most of this football season and tackle the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app, it gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page as where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. Right now, this Dolphins-Raiders matchup, it's kind of been ping-ponging between 7 and 7.5 points. And I think 7 from a betting perspective is probably where I would expect it to stay, just because you get up over 7.5, teams are going to jump on the Raiders to cover 7.5 because they can lose by a touchdown and still cover, right? Over under the game total of 44.5. I kind of want to lean into the under on that. Never in a million years thought we'd be sitting here betting a bunch of Dolphins unders every week, but that's kind of where my gut goes with this game as well. The under on the Rams game hit for us last week. So if you want to take advantage of that hunch, you can do so and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so Jack Stoll. Jack Stoll comes here off waivers by way of the Philadelphia Eagles. And when you turn on the tape, this is a player who will give the full stat production and rundown here. He turns 27 years old in January. 6'4", 250 pounds. He's spent several seasons in Philadelphia. He's been a reasonable snack taker He's been targeted 30 times in 57 career NFL games, 22 catches, 193 yards, no career touchdowns. This is a blocker, first and foremost. From a snaps perspective in Philadelphia, 200 plus snaps on special teams in 2021, 2022, and 2023. This year, he'd played halfway point of the season, 88 snaps on special teams. So there's some special teams inherent value here. And then from a offensive usage perspective, in 2021, he played 331 snaps on offense, 574 for the Eagles in 2022, 438, and then 201 this year on special teams as a 26-year-old fourth-year tight end. So reasonable snaps in Philadelphia and a talented tight end room where they've had a number of guys. Obviously, Dallas Goedert is their featured player there. But they platoon tight ends. They can go heavy. You get the tush push reps where you're out there and you're literally just in a rugby scrum. But when you turn on the tape and you watch Jack Stoll play, I do think this is a viable inline player for the Dolphins. This is a player who you look at the comparable athletic measurables. When he came out in Nebraska in 2021, he wasn't overly big. He was in the 25th percentile for both height and weight at 6'3" and 3/4 and 247 pounds. But he's got a big wingspan, 81.5 inches, which is fingertip to fingertip wingspan. That is 85th percentile. He's got some decent athletic testing measurables. He ran faster than a 4.7. He's got lower body power. He almost jumped 10 feet in the broad jump for a tight end. That's no small feat. And you see that some of the players that he compares to, one of the players, I should say, that he compares to quite favorably from an athletic profiles perspective is a guy whose Dolphins fans are very familiar with, and that's Dawson Knox in Buffalo. And he's been a big-time blocker for the Bills. He got paid, it was more than $12 million per season before he ended up having a tight end that was drafted there in Dalton Kincaid to be an actual receiving tight end, and kind of leaves Dawson Knox in more of a revised blocking specialist type role. That's kind of where Jack Stoll lines up. And he's had nice moments in his career as both a pass protector and as a run blocker. Now, his grading out this year is maybe not as favorable as what it's been in years past, but it's also skewing more dramatically towards a more extreme ratio of his snaps being taken as a blocking specialist, so that it kind of tees off on exactly what you're going to be asked to do. 78%, if you're rounding up, of his reps this season across 201 snaps for Philly on offense have come as a run blocker or as a blocker. That's up 12% from last year and 18% from 2022, which it was at 60%. So he's kind of settling into a role, but it does yield you more of a tell of what you're doing. And I'm watching him go out and play against Jacksonville and Dallas, and I'm watching him play against the Giants, and I'm watching him against the Saints early in the season. And like, he's going against viable edge players. Watching him go against Josh Hines, Allen, and Trayvon Walker for Jacksonville. Watching him block Trey Hendrickson, and watching him block the linebackers that Cincinnati has on the second level with Jermaine Pratt. And these are quality starter type players in the NFL. And he's holding his own in those opportunities when it comes down to creating some movement and displacement. He can get attached to guys on the edge. He moves and is built like Durham Smythe. Am I going to realistically expect Jack Stoll to come in as a waiver claim acquire player mid-season and lap somebody who's been here for years in the system? No. But I am intrigued. Is this an insurance policy? Is this an attempt to upgrade a certain role? Is it a Julian Hill role you're trying to upgrade? Is it a Durham Smythe role you're trying to upgrade? Is it to have a better insurance policy for, obviously, Tanner Connor went on IR. That's how you made room for Tyrel Dodson. Is this a matter of trying to accommodate somebody to be the backup fullback and start training to be a backup fullback if Alec Ingold's going to miss time? Like, I don't know. I'm really interested to find out. I can't imagine he's going to dress in week 1 or week 11, I should say, his first week here. I'd be surprised if he dresses. But I do think this is a player that has some value that could contribute to this team if asked to do the right things. I think that is mainly as an inline type of player. It's kind of my takeaway on Jack Stoll. Now, a player who's no longer here, DeShon Elliott, made some waves this week when talking with Marlon Humphrey on a podcast about getting to play Baltimore, but getting to play Baltimore the way that he wants to play Baltimore, because he said the team that he was with last year, which was, of course, the Dolphins, was soft as expletive. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but maybe not from the angle that you'd expect. Up next here on Locked On Dolphins. Make sure that you stick with us. If you're looking to get in on some real money sports action, Prize Picks is the best place to do so. With over 10 million members and billions in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less and at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. Prize Picks, you can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks has a injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay live. Even if one of your players gets injured, if your player leaves in the first half and does not return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. And Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. You could sign up today to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's download the app Prize Picks today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So what I'm not going to do is come on here and talk speculative about anybody who is or isn't or was or wasn't doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. Where I think the DeShon Elliott comments have a place that I can bring something of value to the conversation is my work with Locked On NFL Scouting and some of the team building stuff across the league and some of the misjudgments that you see teams make in different places. And for DeShon Elliott and his comments, he's talking about after the Tennessee loss, he felt like the heart of the team disappeared. You know, they won their next 2 games after that. I don't doubt some of what he had to say, although the players in the locker room for Miami this year and this week have been very emphatic in pushing back against it. A couple of those players, including Gator Kohu, Javon Holland, kind of directly going out of their way to say, if you want to call somebody out, Nick Needham, name names. Otherwise, it's all just talk, right? So I'm just sitting here manifesting a playoff run so we can get the Steelers in the wild card round and see what the fireworks that would look like. That'd be a lot of fun. They do play each other next year, and DeShon, I believe, did sign a 2-year contract, but that's neither here nor there. But I wasn't in the locker room last year. I wasn't in the meeting rooms where DeShon Elliott stated that players started coming to meetings late after that loss, where players started going out to the club and going out to the strip club and more during the week on the weeks of games and all that. Like, I don't have any valued insight there because I wasn't there. I can't confirm, deny. I don't know, right? Wasn't a part of it. And the one thing that I do is I try to take the platform that I have with this show very, very seriously, and the responsibility that I have to have a connection with those of you who tune into the show to have like authentic, factual, well-rooted in firm opinion, but also like not be too hearsay, gossipy. Like it's not for me. Right. So I kind of cringed when this came out and became a big story, but I do know a lot of Dolphins fans are probably curious about it. I think the thing that DeShon said that I am most attentive to was when he started talking about the culture of Miami. And, whether he's directly alluding to the culture of the Dolphins locker room or not, I think the culture of Miami as a place relative to cities across the country that host other NFL teams, I do think it is something that the Dolphins have more work and consideration to make before committing to a player than many other franchises do. Because Miami, let's be honest, there's a lot going on. It's a sexy city. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of other ways that you, as somebody who's young and successful and makes money, there's lots of opportunities for you to go do other things that aren't doing football, right? And I'm not saying there's anybody who did or did not or has not been doing what they were supposed to be doing, right? Like, because I can't speak intelligently to any of that. It would be extremely irresponsible for me to come up here and speculate or state names or here's rumors that I heard about this, that, the other thing, right? Like, it's just, and the players themselves have been pretty emphatic about pushing back. So I think they're between the comments of Jordan Poyer and now DeShon Elliott. I certainly think the perception of the team last year that they were a little bit of a front running team, I think that has some validity to it. But as far as the culture and what's tolerated and late to meetings and going out to the strip club during the week and all that kind of stuff, like, a lot of that exists in Miami, that it's a more prevalent part of the city of Miami as a vibrant, sexy city than what you get with, say, some of the Midwest cities where there's less to do, like Pittsburgh, where DeShon Elliott goes. Trust me, I've been to Pittsburgh a whole bunch. Or Buffalo, New York, or Kansas City, right? It's a different vibe culturally for that city than what Miami has. And that is something that, from a team building perspective, I do feel like is a very important piece of the puzzle for the Dolphins that they have to hit out of the park. Always. And a team has just recently moved to Las Vegas. And you want to talk about vibrant city, a lot to do, sexy city with a lot of distractions. You think about Las Vegas, and there have been some players that have gone there. You go to the Mayock Gruden years, and they completely failed the football maturity for young guys in the draft. Like, they had a ton of picks, and a bunch of those selections were guys that ended up getting into trouble in a place like that. So I think for Miami, that's where I hear DeShon Elliott say that. I can't speak intelligently to what his experience was or what the other players on the team's experience was. But I do think there is validity to the idea that the culture of the football team has to be comprised of individuals of a certain mentality for the team to be a successful team. Now, he doesn't seem to think it's ever going to get there. I don't know. You sat here and watched this team have a lot of success for a long time and prestigiously and historically. And I hate to go to historical because, like, it doesn't matter for the here and now, but it has been a very historically successful franchise for a very long time. So I don't know. That was what I thought was meaningful insight for me to talk about on DeShon Elliott's comments was, I think there is validity to, this is the kind of place that you have to be a little bit more selective with guys that are ready to be professional athletes when you bring them in here, and be young people that are successful and high profile and have money. So it's something that you hope the Dolphins continue to always strive to be better at, as they strive to be the best versions of themselves as an organization that they possibly can be. But, like, mentally soft and guys check it out. Like, I can't give you anything that you probably can't think of on your own anyway. So I won't. That's going to do it for us here on Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. I appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. And we will be back one more time this week unless there's some major news between now and then, to get you ready for Dolphins and Raiders on Sunday.